5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome, everyone, to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is a podcast where my co-host and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts and videos and vlogs and all kinds of mess. And then we come together to podcast host. And thank you, Higher Gravity Summit Park, for being such a gracious podcast host. We get together and we give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went, and hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows. Now, my name is Marco. I'm a taproom manager here locally, and the voice you're about to hear belongs to the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia, and I make multiple choice question little trivia games out of our podcast and video and vlog and blog recaps. So get ready for that.
Looking forward to those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Julia.
Well, Marco.
So I wanted to talk for a minute about the Vets and Brews Honor Bus. So go to Vets and Brews, either .com or to Vets and Brews Facebook page. They're looking for sponsors for this year's Honor Bus. If you don't know about the Honor Bus, it's a really cool way of honoring veterans that Matt DeMaris, who is the president and CEO of Vets and Brews, puts together with the help of a lot of local breweries as well as Cincy Brew Bus, to just really give the veterans that are able to participate a really fun day, a really fun time, and thank them for their service by supporting them through Vets and Brews. It's going to be a really cool event where they go around to several different breweries. They fill up a bus with veterans. They go around to several different breweries, and they make sure that the vets don't pay for beer that day. Exactly.
They're looking for sponsors, individual sponsors, company sponsors, brewery sponsors. The Honor Bus cannot happen without the support of those of us who just want to buy veterans a beer, to thank them for their service. So as Marco said, if you're interested, check out vetsandbrews.com or go to the Vets and Brews Facebook page. Reach out to Matt DeMaris, sign up to be a sponsor, and help a veteran have a really good day.
You know, no craft beer podcast would be a good craft beer podcast
if we weren't in it.
If we weren't in it. And thank you to everybody who has made us the number one podcast that talks about Cincinnati-based podcasts. Craft beer podcasts, excuse me. Thank you to all of you who have listened for a long time. And we've been doing this for a little while. A little bit longer than most podcasts.
Ooh, this is true, yes. Not longer than all, but longer than
most.
Yes.
But so thank you to everyone who's listening. Thank you to any first-time listeners. I think you'll get it as we go along. If not, listen to a previous couple of episodes, and then you'll get it. And if not, at least we'll get credit for your clicks. And I appreciate all of you. Having said that, Julia, the thoughts and opinions on this podcast are ours and ours alone. They do not reflect any entity which we may be affiliated with, such as full-time jobs or Higher Gravity. If you have something that you want to get at us about, whether it's for, our brewery events podcast that we do, or you want to shower us with money and beer and riches of, mass quantities.
But don't shower us in glitter. I will fight you.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. We will tell you how to get in touch with us at the end of the show, although you found Truth Beer Pod, so you can find us. You can find us. Having said that, Julia.
Marco.
What you drinking?
I am having Sona from Heart State Brewing. It is a wheat beer. Heart State Brewing makes really, really good stuff, and I am enjoying this crisp, citrusy, delicious beer on a pretty warm day.
Looks like a glass of sunshine.
It really does. It's a beautiful color. If I hadn't been drinking it as quickly as I have, I would take a picture. But maybe that means I'll get another one.
Could be.
Post a picture on social media.
You can do what you want. You've grown.
It's true. I am. Oh, my God, I'm adult. That's terrifying. All right. Please help me. I'm unsupervised right now. Marco, what about you? What are you drinking?
I'm having a Hop Juju.
Oh, yeah.
As one does when Hop Juju is out and fresh.
Absolutely. Well, I got the drinks out of the way, got the disclaimer out of the way, got who we are out of the way. The only thing left to get out of the way before we dive into things is to make sure that you and I have listened to the same shows.
Yeah,
this
that's
week.
true.
Every now and then we have a little faux pas where one of us listens or doesn't listen to something.
Right.
So let's see if we are on track. This week we have 2 national podcasts and then four or five local, not just podcasts, but 4 or 5 local entertainment situations that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
For the national ones, we have Drink Beer, Think Beer with John Holl. This was episode 200, the Beer Initiative to promote 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
Yeah, we did tease that one last week, and we did also mean to mention it the week before. But yes, I did.
All right. We have another national podcast, How Not to Start a Damn Brewery. This will be season 5, episode 9, with Michael Amann of Adena, formerly Adena Distributing.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and thank you, Michael, for letting us, making us aware of this podcast. To be honest, I've listened. I listened to that, and then he was on a recent episode of Steal This Beer, which is another podcast.
Not Michael.
No, the host. The host of How Not to Start a Damn Brewery.
Well, the way you said that, thank you to Michael for letting us know.
Oh,
and he was also on this, and I'm like, holy shit, Michael was on.
Michael was on. How about that, Michael?
He should be.
He should.
Moving on to the local things we're going to talk about, we have the Craft Parenting Podcast, episodes 119 and 120, Real Talk with Matt and Shanelle DeMaris.
Yes.
All right. We have Cincy Brewcast, season 9, episode 14, Raising Boats and Tides at Sonder and Friends Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. The Weekly Pint, episode 187, There's a Hole in My Ceiling and My Car Won't Start.
I was there.
All right, and then last but certainly not least, Brew Sky's Booze News. This is what success looks like.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Did all that.
We are going to start with kind of the deepest or heaviest topic podcasts that covered, a heavy topic. Drink Beer, Think Beer with John Holl, talking about the Beer Initiative to promote 988, which, if you're not familiar, is the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. I do want to put a trigger warning, a disclaimer before this. The podcast and kind of our recap will talk about, not in depth, but it does talk about some self-harm, suicidal ideations, just mental health crisis. So if that is something that you are not comfortable with, get comfortable with talking about it because it is incredibly important. But B, we understand that not everyone is able to listen to some of that. So if you want to skip ahead a few minutes, we will not hold that against you. But this is a very important topic, so we wanted to make sure that we covered this, even though it has nothing to do with anything Cincinnati related.
No, but part of the reason why is because for over a year, we've had the Lifeline in our show notes. And when we started putting the Lifeline in our show notes, we even had probably a 20 or 30 second aside.
Yeah, kind of a public service announcement that we would throw in there.
That we would throw in there. So it's something that we wanted to listen to. It's something that does have a connection to Truth Beer Pod in that way. So
exactly.
Again, I understand if you're not comfortable in listening to or wanting to hear that, that's fine. But I will say, if you are somebody who needs someone to talk to, keep in mind the Lifeline.
Dial or text 988, or you can go to 988lifeline.org. Either one will get you connected with someone who can just listen to you talk. No judgment. This episode was with John Lane of OHSO Brewing and Russ, I believe he pronounced his last name Cush, of Lakefront Brewing. And it talked about some of their personal experiences with sort of mental health crisis, either their own or someone or some people that they knew, and how that turned into the desire and the drive to really make this more of an awareness situation within the brewing community and the communities that come into their brewing community. The first few minutes were about the brewers, their breweries, just kind of how they got started, where they are, the beers that they make. So the main topic starts about 12 minutes in with how did the 988 Brew Initiative come about? And it was pretty much spearheaded or started by Russ of Lakefront Brewing. And before I turn it over to you for you to start giving your thoughts on some of it, I just want to say that this episode hit me just as hard emotionally as the episode of Cincy Brewcast, Volume 6, Episode 46, where he talked with Dogberry, talked about
Talked to the owner of Dogberry.
Right, which was a different situation. It was a COVID situation, but just the emotion that comes out of this podcast, it really is something. I mean, it really does showcase just how important mental health is and how it does touch absolutely everyone, whether you may be aware of it or not.
It's not as out there or as ubiquitous as a pink ribbon. It's not something, and why would it be? It only started about a year ago, but it's through people spreading the awareness about the Lifeline that is going to help get the Lifeline in front of people who need it. They obviously talk about what are the origin stories behind wanting to create a beer surrounding this awareness campaign. You can imagine what they are. They are quite simply stories about a brewer who's been in the brewing and bar industry for a long time, had to go to too many funerals because of these instances. And we can all think of a time where mental illness or suicide has touched a member of our family or somebody that we know. Heck, it was even just a day or two ago that in one of the Cincinnati Facebook groups, somebody talked about being a survivor. And so this, I don't know how specific I want to be, because honestly, the impactfulness is by listening to this episode.
Agreed.
But just so you're aware, this campaign is out there, and hopefully it can gain traction like so many other different awareness campaigns that are out there. Even in the beer industry, there's awareness campaigns for so many different things.
For ALS, right, exactly. Autism awareness, everything, and this needs to be just as high up there priority-wise, if not more. I do know that they're saying they're not looking for breweries to make a special beer for this. They're just looking for maybe 1 week out of the month you change the name of one of your beers to 988 to start that conversation, to make people aware. I know that Westside Brewing did this with their Amber Ale during Suicide Prevention Week, which I believe was the week of September 11th. I didn't see any other local breweries posting about this, but that doesn't mean that they did not. But Westside Brewing didn't overly do anything. They didn't do new labels, but on their tap list, on their tap board, they put 988 in front of their Amber Ale's name. So that was one way to do that.
So we went ahead and did it, Julia. First podcast, we mentioned Westside.
We absolutely did.
And it's
but
contractual. We have to. We have to. But I want to say that was really fantastic that they did that. Gosh, you just they almost just don't miss. They don't miss on beer, and they put out their messaging. Their Braille Ale is something that is. Didn't they win an award for their packaging?
Yeah, I believe it's one of the only breweries in North America that has actual Braille on the label. It's one of the most inclusive beer labels out there. I believe there are other places that are starting to do, or maybe it was either a wine or a bourbon, but not a beer. That may have changed by now. I haven't looked too closely into that, but I do agree. I know that we kind of joke about mentioning them, but like you said, they're all in for when they have a cause that they want to promote, support, raise awareness for, and they really knock it out of the park. It wasn't an over-the-top promotion of changing Amber's name to 988 for that week. I saw a single Facebook post, and when you go into the tap room, you saw it there, and hopefully it sparked a couple conversations that maybe needed to happen that could help that particular patron or a friend, a family member, a coworker, someone that they might be able to pass that information along to. It was a very heavy and raw conversation in this podcast.
It got there towards the end. So I mean,
Correct.
there were discussions about obviously a heavy topic all throughout, but it really culminated towards the end of the podcast.
Right. I would strongly suggest giving it a listen because, again, if we don't talk about this stuff, the stigma is always going to be there. I know that, to kind of put a personal spin on this, I know that I run into issues with talking about when I'm having a rough time because, to me, I think everyone's going through something, which is true. But I kind of take almost a step back in a negative light because I say everyone's going through something, so why would someone want to hear about my problems? Because are they really that problematic to anyone else other than me? Maybe not, but just being able to talk about them, saying, hey, I am overly stressed out about this for good reason, for not good reason. So just normalizing talking about when you're struggling, no matter how big, no matter how small, and the 988 Lifeline is the perfect place to talk anonymously with someone about any of that. It does not have to be as serious as you are considering extreme measures. It could just be, I am just so overwhelmed and stressed out. I just need to vent to someone, and I don't want to talk to a friend, a coworker, a family member. So please, 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 if there is anything that you're just struggling with, no matter how small, utilize the 988 Lifeline. And to all the breweries out there, please try to, again, 1 week a month, 1 weekend a month, 1 day a month, whatever works for you and for your brand. Change the name of one of your beers to 988 or incorporate 988 into that. That's all that they're asking, and I think that small step will have an immense ripple effect that will be so beneficial to so many people.
Well said, Julia.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
Let's do that. We will be right back, guys. All right, everybody, we have made it
back.
And we are going to talk about the second of the national podcasts that actually does have to do with a Cincinnati beer distribution icon. We're talking about Michael from formerly Adena Distributor. He's always going to be Michael from Adena to me. I'm sorry.
That's the way he is in my phone.
I'm sorry.
That's his contact.
I actually don't have his number. So, Michael,
you don't?
I'm gonna steal it from Marco, and then I'm going to start harassing you.
You don't have to steal it if I give it to you.
Yeah, this is very true. This is Season 5, Episode 9 of How Not to Start a Damn Brewery. And this is a podcast that shares the stories and pitfalls and failures of craft beer and breweries and
distributors.
Wow, words are difficult. Please, I want to put a disclaimer as you're listening to this episode. Please do not stab Michael to see if he bleeds beer. That's a saying, and that is a phrase.
From the start.
From the start, do not stab Michael, period.
Yeah.
For any reason.
Yeah.
For any reason at all. This was a really fun listen. I wasn't familiar with this podcast until Michael shared it with you. You shared it with me.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't either.
There was some great history of who Michael is and where he came from, and I don't think that I've ever gotten the full story about how he went from being a failed writer to a beer distributor, which is kind of a jump that I don't know that I would have picked out on my own, but once you know that, just from talking to him and hearing the way he talks and seeing the way he writes when he makes posts online, it's like, oh, well, of course. But I don't think he's a failure at writing. I think he writes it beautifully, at least in the, small segments that we have seen.
There's definitely something about some people where you read things, or when you're in discussion with them, you say, you know what, this person has a little bit of an upper hand when it comes to navigating the English language. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Michael's one of those people. But
one of the things that he does not have skill at, apparently, is selling Guinness, because he was fired from his first distribution job. Distribution job? I don't know how I was trying to emphasize those syllables, but it was not correct. This is getting off to a great start. He was fired for not selling enough Guinness to a bar.
We got it, Michael. It wasn't your fault.
Well, I mean, it kind of was.
Kind of was. But no. Yes, but no. But yes, no. Yeah.
And then, like so many people, he started going down the path of, maybe I'll start a brewery.
Right.
As so many do.
Yeah, many do. And so many did.
And how did that work out for him? Yeah.
How'd that work out for him? Well, he started distributorship.
there were some really cool pieces of this. I don't think this is going to be a huge recap, just because otherwise we're going to be just telling you exactly what Michael said, and we want you to listen to him tell his story in his own words. That's part of what makes what we do.
I didn't know Vincent.
Oh
I didn't
my
know Vincent
God.
was going to break out in a song.
Dude, this is the perfect song to do it to. Listeners, if you can hear in the background, Vincent is crushing Eye
That's
of the
my
Tiger.
son.
Oh my God. I love it. I love this so incredibly much. To get back to Michael from Adena.
Jeez.
He learned, one of the main lessons that he learned is it's more about what the consumers are excited about, not what the breweries are excited to
It has
make
to be.
it,
That has to
which
be the
is-
way.
Which is absolutely, well, but it was so weird because until he phrased that, it's one of those things where you kind of know, but in my head it didn't click, where I'm like, well, no shit. I mean, you have breweries that are really excited about, came up with this recipe for this beer. It's something different, something we haven't done before. They put it out, but then the consumers are like, no, I'm still in my pasty stout phase, so I don't want anything to do with this amazing lager that the brewery just released.
So it's just, I mean, even a local brewery who is very much into their own lane, early on, really they got the hint that people didn't give a shit about your Bret IPA, and so they're like, yeah, well, we're gonna have to move on from that.
I don't know. I still enjoy them, but yeah, it all depends on. You can make whatever you want to make.
Oh, you can.
But if people don't want to buy it, that's
the thing.
the end of it, right? And that was something that, as a distributor, Michael was thinking, man, all these beers that I really like, these things that the breweries are excited about, that's what I'm going to bring to the Cincinnati area. And it was almost flipped on its head, because that's not how you sell a product. It works for some. It might work in small batches, but overall, if you're basing your business model on selling to the consumer, you got to cater to what the consumer wants, not what a brewery is pushing out, which, like I said, as soon as I heard it, it's one of those things, but that really made it click.
And you know it.
For me. Let's see, a couple other things that we have here. Weeks without hype beers were near impossible to get profit from, because everyone was looking for, that week's thing. So if there were a bunch of breweries that Adena was in partnership with that just didn't have something new and exciting and fancy or whatever,
right,
it was very hard for them to continue to turn that dollar over for the
I can imagine him.
Yeah.
All right, team, huddle up. All right, huddle. He gives him the huddle signal, like where you put your fingers together. Huddle up. And he's like, all right, so this week all the breweries sent us their cream ale and their blonde. So we are stocked up. Let's go.
All right, guys,
let's go sell the cream ale and the blonde.
We still have 2 cases of St. Arnulf back in the corner. If we can try to get this, which he did touch on. If you're not familiar,
oh God, yeah.
Oh my God, look up the St. Arnulf scandal. That's ARNULF. Brewer's name was Steven something. I looked it up, but I didn't write it down for whatever reason.
You know what the S in Steven something stands for?
Shit.
That's it. Piece of shit. Scammer, piece of shit.
Scum of the brewing earth.
Yeah, that's it.
That was a whole thing.
Good guess,
I remember. Every now and then, I kind of hit the nail on the head there. Let's see, and what are the other things he said? Distributors don't cause breweries to close. Breweries cause breweries to close.
I guess it's one of those things where I guess the brewery could say no, right?
Yeah.
They could say no.
They could say no. That's true. But if they're basing their profit margins and their ability to pay their bills and stay open on what they're selling on store shelves and not out of their tap room, it's not the distributor's fault if the consumer doesn't want to buy those, is kind of how I read into that part of the conversation. Could be wrong, but yeah, it's not Adena's fault. Although I guess since Adena kind of doesn't exist anymore, can we now say it's Adena's fault? Do we do that temporary
I think he
blame
even admits
shifting?
there's probably a brewery or two out there that does blame Adena for something.
This is true. They probably do.
I didn't make that up. That's what he said.
No, right, absolutely. Conversation led into what led to the decision to sell Adena. Or I'm not sure if it was a straight-on sale or just like a merger, an absorption into a different distributor. But apparently, unlike Sonder, everything was not awesome.
That's right.
With Adena, and
well, it was. I think
it makes sense.
It did make sense, and to a degree, it was part of a plan, a growth strategy.
Right.
But I do think also it's one of those things where he got to a point. Now listen and find out what that point, what those factors were. He got to a point where there's a couple of roads in front of you, and that road seemed like the best decision for his business, which also meant the best decision for he as a person.
Agreed. There were a lot of really fun stories sprinkled into this episode, so you definitely need to give it a listen. But one of those stories led to my multiple choice question.
Julia's multiple choice question.
For Season 5, Episode 9 of How Not to Start a Damn Brewery with Michael from Adena Distributing.
At the time he was with Adena.
At the time he was with them, now it's not Adena. Whatever. It's all fine.
Syria?
It's all fine. Serene?
Serene.
Is how I'm saying it. And, Michael, I'm still waiting for one of the last Adena t-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That turtle logo, brilliant. Love it. All right. The multiple choice question. Marco, are you ready?
I am ready.
What will Michael never, ever, ever use again for beer pickup? Is it a Triceratops? Is it a U-Haul? Or is it a minivan?
Or is it D, Julia? I'm going to bring the D. You ready?
I am ready.
The D is DoorDash. That's what the D stands for.
Ooh, all very good options. Only one of them is correct. So if you want to know what is the right answer, listen to this episode and find out all about what Michael was up to when he was the president, founder, CEO, and all kinds of other titles with letters of Adena Distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything else you had on this episode, Marco, before we move on?
No, let's just move on.
All right. Do we need to take a break? Do you need to refill your glass, or are you good?
Yeah, I'm going to go get something else.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, refill our glasses, and then we'll be right back.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going.
The third member of our podcast finally arrived. It's almost like he's been dealing with just issues outside of podcasting or something.
Strange.
I don't know.
Something.
Maybe we'll cover some of those issues in one of our recaps tonight.
Possible.
Possibly. Okay. What do you say we jump into 2 episodes of the Craft Parenting Podcast?
Yes.
Because it was a 2-parter, episodes 119 and 120. Real talk with Matt and Shanelle DeMaris. They had a very long conversation, so they divided the episode up into 2 parts. Each part released different weeks.
There he is.
Wow.
And they talked about anything and everything. They were all over the place, and I was there for it. I absolutely loved it. Apparently, the number of craft beer lovers with parenting problems has doubled at 13 Below. Which is funny because they explained why Matt and Shanelle were down at 13 Below. Basically, they got lost. Somehow ended up on the west side.
That's how I'd end up there.
Exactly. Couldn't find their way out. Somehow
Look,
ended
I
up
hope
at
they
13
do great.
Below. Sure.
I'm sure it's a great place, but if I'm there, I'm lost.
They've been open how long?
Is it 6 years now?
It's a long time.
They've been open for quite a while. No thanks to you, who tried to flood them out their first year of being open, but they persevered. It's been fantastic ever since. This is probably going to be a quicker-ish recap because they really didn't talk a lot about beer in this episode. There were a couple touch points about it, but most of the
they were at 13 Below and didn't talk about beer?
Not very much.
Not very much,
It was more about the parenting.
The parenting and just
I get that.
podcasting and just kind of life in general.
Yeah, it was parenting and podcasting. Very little beer.
And how the speed limit on 275 is 90 miles an hour. Yeah, so, I mean, if you're driving slower than that, get into the right lane or get out of
over.
the way. Absolutely. Joe is a grandpa driver, and there are a lot of train delays
I can
for
see
places
that.
people
I can
work.
see that about him.
I could see that too. Yes. But is he in the minivan or the other minivan when he's the grandpa driver? That's the real question. You got that Honda Odyssey. You can get kicking in that sometimes. But he's in the Ford, not the Focus. What was the Ford
Festiva?
Astro? No,
An Astrovan?
Astrovan. Was it the Astrovan? That brick's not going over 25.
I learned how to
without
drive on an Astrovan.
Nice.
Yeah.
I bet that was
tracks.
fun.
I get that. That's straight up Marco.
We're going to touch on the beer parts that they did talk about. One of the big ones that came up first was the Brews Travelers Facebook group, which is really run by and kind of owned by Mark Miller, one of the Brews Travelers, Quick Trip.
Shout out Quick Trip.
But then they
You
talked
use his
about
name,
how-
you have to drink.
Okay, that's... Oh, no.
Oh no.
Speaking of, we all have new beers. Marco, what are you drinking?
I have last week from Masthead B&D.
Nice. All right.
Some kind of dunkel. I can't read.
from...
Can't read anything.
Yeah, I
it's
saw that
from
one. I hadn't gotten it.
Hofbrauhaus.
Oh, am I allowed to drink this?
No.
Jeez.
You're
Pour it.
actually not.
The Hofbrau police are going to come get me.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking a beer that Marco and I did not get. Seeing Colors, hazy IPA from
Yeah, we
Adena.
didn't get
Ooh,
invited.
you guys weren't invited to that.
No, we weren't invited to that.
It's cool.
Still
We're
working on my
above
video.
that.
It'll happen eventually.
Well, I mean, Joe was able to put his
Jeez.
video out. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
well.
Come on. He's doing great. They talked about Matt's multitude of podcasts, which multitude, he has two. He has Hustle and Brews, and he kind of
His three.
co-runs. Is it 3?
I count at 3 now. He's got the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast.
Well,
and then
Mark
he's got
has that. Yeah, and then Hustle,
Hustle and
and
Brews.
and then
What am I missing?
what's the new thing that he does? The spinoff.
Oh, shoot, that's right. The Hustlers Brews.
Hustlers Brews.
Hustlers Brews.
Is that what it's
Yes.
called?
We've had one episode of that so far. So, Matt, my apologies that I forgot about that. It just kind of
Yeah.
hit and then disappeared. So,
We're up
my,
to 2
my
now.
bad on that. We are up to 2. Well, not until it actually hits all the podcatchers.
Okay.
Until it does, we are still giving everybody everything in one feed. Stay tuned for more
We're going to be
information
Truth Beer
on
and
that.
Pods at Truth Beer Pods.
Yeah, we're going to add an S because you add an S to everything.
Yeah.
That might be the title.
Pods.
That might be
Sequences.
the title. Actually, you know what? That might have been a title of one of our older episodes. So that might not be the title of this one. I'll have to go back and find out.
We're reusing
They talked
material.
about we're reusing material. Yeah, good God. We've been around for so long that we are reusing material now. They talked about entrepreneurship. No one will promote your shit as hard as you promote your shit. And then something that we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, Vets and Brews and the Honor Bus. It is coming up. It is coming back. If you are interested in sponsoring this, please do so. vetsandbrews.com or the Vets and Brews Facebook page. Reach out to Matt in some way, shape, or form. I will say, Caroline had a phenomenal idea for a spin-off to Vets and Brews for the veterans that don't drink, because there is a good number of veterans that just don't drink for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine.
Vets and weed.
Vets and kombucha.
Vets and
Oh,
kombucha.
it's like that.
Yes, but no, I
Give
actually
everyone the bubble
will.
guts.
Yeah. Well, no, it should help resolve the bubble guts.
I don't know
That's
about
like
that.
good bacteria.
Vets and jerky.
Close.
I like jerky.
I like
Jerky's
jerky.
good.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? One other beer-related topic that they talked about. Do you notice more, or do people notice more when a beer changes if the recipe changes versus the branding?
The branding.
100% the branding.
100%.
I'm glad that wasn't the multiple choice question, because you guys would have knocked it out of the
You would have
park.
to change a beer like while I'm drinking it for me to notice.
You would have to almost pull up.
And
that
even then,
tire.
I don't even know
It
if
would
I would
ha-
notice.
yes, a fat tire.
Yeah,
If you
you'd
pull a
have to,
fat
like-
tire, then I notice that.
I wouldn't have noticed fat tire
Are you serious?
Really?
because I don't drink it.
That's okay.
So, like,
okay.
Well,
It,
it's
would-
not
it could have been.
amber
It could
anymore.
have, but it could have been that far off that I'm like, man, I don't remember this being like this. But maybe I'm just crazy.
That's weird.
Like,
I don't remember the amber ale being blonde.
Yeah, but I would pass it off as me just not remembering correctly.
Sure.
But I think what they were talking about in their conversation was more about the beers that people are drinking on a consistent basis. You know, Marco
Yeah.
and Truth, or, you know, whatever. Like, if they suddenly change the recipe, would Marco notice versus...
Well, they
them
do.
changing-
I
well,
constantly.
well,
I
right,
didn't
but
until I
that's-
did, and once I did, I was like, this isn't actually what I want.
I wonder how often something like Truth has been changed. because I know
probably
that there's
more
been
often
tweaks
than-
a lot.
Yeah. And
but
I guess
eventually it
what's-
just gets so noticeable that you can't not notice it.
Right, and what is the limit to the tweak that actually turns it into
Right.
something a bit different that would be noticeable? If maybe just due to drought, or as Mike and Brett from Brewcast love to talk about.
Are you
global
blaming the
warming.
changes in truth on drought?
No, what
Okay,
I'm
just checking.
saying, I'm just trying to pick like a random example of something that might affect something else. Let's just say, and I have no idea about the recipe for truth, so I am making all this shit up. So Ryan, guys, please don't come after me. But let's
Water,
just say
malt, hops, yeast. It's pretty simple.
Well, right. But what I was going for is
There's the recipe.
Let's just say
Boom.
that they always used
Truth. There
a
it
pound. Let's just say they always use a pound of Citra, but then due to whatever
A pound?
reason, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, I'm
not
confused.
a brewer. I'm not a brewer. I don't know this stuff. But then the next time they released it,
Grams. Change it to
they weren't
metric.
able to obtain a pound of Citra, so they used 3/4 of a pound of Citra and a 1/4 pound of,
Baking
fixed
flour.
yeast.
Yeast. Quarter pound of
Just
yeast. Yeah. And then 3 units of water.
A royale of Citra.
Right, but yes, you all know what I'm talking. Oh my god! Oh my god! Will
Little
there
dash
be
of watermelon.
No, we're not talking about
There's
watermelon.
no watermelon in
No
truth?
No.
Watermelon truth, I would drink it.
That actually
sounds
doesn't sound
good.
bad. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I would drink it.
Yeah.
You know those? Oh, no.
Nope.
Won't go there.
Nope. Adena Schwaben beer bracket would be an interesting challenge, but I do not agree with the statement that, well, it would have to be a 1 ounce pour of everything. You're not going to have any idea of what that beer tastes like.
No,
with just
no,
one
That's
ounce.
way.
that's the difficulty of all of these things. Is you have to
You have to
get
have
the beer.
right, like a taster, like a 4 or 5 ounce sample. Even that sometimes isn't enough to really.
That's
get a good
borderline for me.
idea.
Like, it
it's
takes-
borderline. You
yeah.
can, but sometimes you need 6 to 12 ounces, if not a liter, to really figure out what a beer tastes like. Let's see. You got the full history of the Grumman, which is something
Yeah.
that Matt's talked about plenty of times, but I don't think we've ever gotten the entire story, the entire
Sure.
history of it. So I absolutely loved that. And again, there were a couple other little beer-related things sprinkled in, but it was mostly a podcast where they just had a conversation. So it was just
Those are the best ones for me.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Those are always the most fun when people just sit down and just talk. There's no super strict format of, well, now we have to talk about this and then this and then this, like that Cincy Brewcast podcast.
So did they
Way
not
too
use
regimented.
a Google spreadsheet?
I don't know that they did.
I guarantee there was a
There
spreadsheet.
was probably still a Google spreadsheet. What we do have, though,
Graphs,
we don't have a
charts.
Google spreadsheet. We have a notebook, but we also have a multiple choice question. Did they not talk about West Side, Best Side? Mm-hmm. Did they not talk about Battle Buddies?
Mm-hmm.
Or did they not talk about the Industrial Revolution?
Or option D. You did A, B, and C, and I bring D. Option D. Did they not talk about
I've got Marco's D. It's right here in my hand.
the
no.
Brent Spence Bridge?
They could have talked about any and all of these things. Listen to both episodes to find out what they didn't actually
On
talk
3/4 speed. On Royale with cheese speed.
I bet. Okay, so you know how listening to shift beers at like half speed is amazing?
That's pretty
It
funny.
is really good.
I need to try to listen to Craft Parenting Pod at half speed and see if it's just as amazing.
Let us know.
Yeah.
What do you say we move on to... Do we need to take a break?
Nope.
Okay. The Cincinnati Brewcast?
Oh.
Yep, you see what you did there?
Here, hang on, Marco.
Cheers. We cheers.
See how
when we
tiny of a
say-
pour I gave you?
That's fine.
It's fine. This is Season 9, Episode 14. Raising Boats and Tides at Sonder and Friends Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
The Oktoberfest episodes are my absolute favorite because
They're
it is
great.
just that conversation. There
This one-
is some flow to it, but
There are notes like
Sure,
similar
sure.
to Craft Parenting Pod. Like there were notes of things that I want to like hit in the show, but like it takes maybe 3 seconds before that's just gone.
oh, absolutely.
It's like we're just gonna go.
Absolutely. You sat down with Justin and Danny from Sonder, Mark and Amy from Common Beer Company, and Brian from BC's whatever we want to
whatever we call 'em.
end that with. Is that place ever going to open?
That was the question.
The question asked multiple times. It was recorded live at Sonder and Friends Oktoberfest. Hey, Vincent, how's it going?
Vincent.
Heck yeah, could join the party.
All right. Vincent's at the table.
Heck yeah, party is officially
He looks like he's on the pod, too,
now.
because he's wearing headphones.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Best intro ever.
I messed up the music.
I think it worked perfectly. Just because your old intro was like at the end of it, it still started out exactly the way that it should have
Right.
for Saunders' 100th episode.
Maybe.
Absolutely. I did wish that we would have gotten a Justin laugh out of it more so, but
Yeah.
it was spectacular.
That did. So when I was editing the actual intro, like clips, that laugh played a big part in a lot of them.
Oh God, yeah,
But it would have been
it is
very
such a
long.
great laugh. I love it so much.
Danny's got a good one too.
He does.
Yeah.
They both. Let's see. You can hear about Procter and Gamble's small batch beer,
Yeah.
which was
Brew it in the corner.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why
Right
no
next
one's
to the
really
Tide
talking
Pods.
about it. Yeah.
I don't know what else. I don't know what exactly they do there versus other places of P&G. Like, it is kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It's a very big thing that's happening there, and I don't know what they're doing. So
I'll
they're
just
making beer.
Making beer, absolutely.
Making beer.
I was going to say, let's just say something, and it is now our truth.
That's what we do, right?
There were not that many people at the table wearing lederhosen. There were
yeah.
enough.
The people
but
in
not
front of the
as-
camera were.
Correct.
Which is important.
Correct. Which that is one thing that I do want to say. This is an episode that I feel like watching the YouTube video, you get a little more out of it.
Yes.
You actually see the reasons for some of the reactions and the interactions
There
that
was
are happening.
there was some really good stuff throughout the day after the show.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh
my God, I'm sure there was, yeah.
Nobody from Sonder, at least that was on the show, was wearing lederhosen, which is a problem in itself. But
Justin at least had a
Justin
hat.
had a hat.
He had his hat.
And that's where the fun entered the rest of the night. Justin lost his hat a lot throughout
Oh.
the rest of the night. Mostly because of Brian and Caleb from BC's stealing his hat.
Somehow that does not surprise me.
He would be in the middle of a conversation, and Caleb would just walk up and just pull it right
Pick it
off,
up.
and then put it on his own head. And at one point, like, where me and Caleb were sitting there at the bar, and Justin walks up. He's like, "Dude, I swear, I set my hat right there next to you. I think I lost it. I think I lost my hat."
Did Brian or Caleb put it on and they're just standing
Caleb
right
was
next
just
to
sitting
it?
right there with the hat on, and I'm
my
like, "Man,
God.
I'm sorry. Like, I didn't see it," and Caleb's, "I didn't see it either." And I was like, "Man, I knew this was going to happen. Where did my hat go?"
That's amazing. Do you think he's going to have a chin strap for this
Over
hat
and
next time?
over and over again.
Oh my God. That is, I felt, I wanted to go so bad, but I was
make them
just
now. What are they
exhausted.
called?
The
chin straps for the hats?
Oh, you know, yeah.
Chin strapping? I don't know. What do you say that in German?
You just strap on the hat.
Oh, strap.
The-
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's
Listen to your stupid opinions, and
I don't know.
oh
what
my
you're talking
God,
about.
it's
That's all I do is listen to
amazing.
my stupid opinions.
You guys discussed in depth the bell curve of trying to decide if the next year's Oktoberfest beer is going to be more of the Märzen or the Festbier style.
I was just commenting on their meetings and how they decide what their Oktoberfest is going to taste like.
The way they reacted, I think that you exposed them
I
more
did.
than what they
That's-
wanted
that's
to.
what that's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. You are an incredible journalist, and you're always exposing the things that need to be exposed, and some things that really shouldn't be.
Maybe.
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 Let's see. Justin at one point took over the entire interview and started to interview Brian about BCs and
Was
what's
this
happening
before or
there.
after they got in a fight over the microphone?
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. Is that,
Yes.
like, hey, they
I was like, why are you grabbing the mic, man? Hey, you know what? If you're going to take my
They're
mic
both
one
trying
more
to talk
time,
from the same
give
mic.
me an open date for BC's Brewing Co. And Brian's just like, whoa, shots fired. This is getting a little intense. It was absolutely amazing, though.
He's already got his Costa Rica ejection
plan in place. He's going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, the doors
Speaking of Rheingeist and Truth, no comments there.
The doors are going to open to BC's Brewing, and Brian's just going to be like, out. I'm out. I'm done. I am gone.
Oh, so you have them opening. That's good.
Ish. It's fine. It's fine. They might have some bottles. I love the conversation where they were emphasizing the friends of the Sonder and Friends Oktoberfest. Getting the actual breweries together, like I said, it was a networking event more so than just a festival. And that's part of what makes what they do so special.
It's not part of.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing. Right,
it is a good chunk of what makes that event what it is.
It absolutely does. When you go up there and you are, like when I went last year, even though everyone was in their own separate tents, everyone
way different
was still,
this year.
well, sure, but even then, you still had the brewery owners, the brewers, the people from those companies that were there walking around interacting with the other people from the other breweries. So you could see that camaraderie and that friendship and that just embodiment of a community.
Yeah.
Even in that slightly separated way that they had it last year. I love the fact that they put everyone under the same tent this year so that you could see that so much clearer than you could last year. And for people that just didn't either agree with that for one reason or another, or thought, no, I just would rather have a volunteer pour my beer, I don't want to do X, Y, or Z with it.
Right.
I do appreciate Sonder saying, this is how we want to do things. We want our Oktoberfest to be about German beers and about that community within the brewing community, and that's that. Those are kind of like our two big rules. And I think that really makes what they do more special than Oktoberfest Cincinnati will ever be. Cincinnati has the history, the size, all that, but it's not.
They all have their own kind of place in this, and that's what I love so much is that like all of these different, especially with Oktoberfest, most of these festivals are finding their own place within this bigger season of festivals. Like it's hard to say, all right, Oktoberfest, we're going to throw one and make it special. And
you have to have something, right?
Sonder came in just in the last couple of years and like, okay, like we want to do an Oktoberfest. How do we do different than what any other Oktoberfest in Cincinnati is doing, which is really, really tall order because there are so many Oktoberfests doing so many different things, and somehow they figured it out. And so here we have this Oktoberfest season in the city that is just getting wider and bigger and better and better and better. And I love it. I love it so much.
I agree. Talked a little bit about Sonder stories, and Justin mentioned Marco and I as being the two people that listened to Sonder stories. So, Justin, Danny, and to everyone that's ever been on that show, you're welcome. We love it. We do love it. Well, I was going to say this is the 100th episode, so we don't have to wait for the 100th episode any longer. I am ready for episode 101.
Yeah, bring it on.
Let's see, what else was there? They talked about Sonder's growth.
Hopefully their new employee will be able to make episode 101.
Yes.
Correct.
Find out Danny's new title and why Sonder is hiring a new Danny. Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm just not,
Just making sure.
We don't expose everything.
I was drinking. I had beers. I had Oktoberfest beers.
Put that on a t-shirt. I would buy that in a heartbeat. 16-ounce cans are failing. We're now moving on to 19.2-ounce six packs. So you should be very happy. I know that you're a fan of the 19.2s.
Depending on the style, yes. Yes,
Any
absolutely.
style, all the styles, all the time. Invasive species. When they move in, is it insulting or flattering? That was really fun to listen to.
There was a lot of stuff on and off the air.
I'm sure there was.
I'm sure there was.
I see both sides of it, so I'm not sure which way I lean more. But
I go back and forth.
Really good. Yeah, I mean, I feel like
I do as well. I mean, some of them it's pretty easy to take a stance with. Others, it's you're gonna be a little bit different than that. You'd be willing to give them a shot and see what's up.
I love having Highwire in Cincinnati. Love the beer. Love the people. Love everything about Highwire. BJs can kick rocks.
I guess it depends on how they try to inject themselves into the community. Is it, I'm here because because Cincinnati needs our beer?
Look at you. Craft beer means more than the beer.
Imagine that. Or are they moving into Cincinnati because they see what we have and they want to be a part of it?
Sure.
So it really all depends on the brewery, on the people, on all of that good stuff. You got beer in your butt crack. Hopefully,
I did.
That.
It's all fine. It's still there.
Were the lederhosen okay? That was my main.
No, beer on lederhosen is good. It breaks them in.
It ages them just perfectly.
It's perfect.
The chaos of the Oktoberfest episodes is always.
Thanks for asking about my butt crack, though.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
I knew that's
doing good.
Yeah, I mean, gotta make sure that things are good.
Got to clean that thing out every once in a while. A little beer will do it.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. What else do I have here?
What do you have?
I regret and too much editing that I'm going to need to do. That's what I have. Is Sonder the last local brewery to do what they did and succeed? Don't want to necessarily dive into that because
big
holy
conversation.
cow, that is an absolutely enormous conversation. But what was able to be touched on in this episode was, I think you guys were able to dive into it deeper than what I thought you were going to be able to in just that small segment of the show.
Yeah, it was only about, what, an hour and 15 minutes?
I don't know.
But that part of the conversation was like almost an hour in. Like it was pretty close to the end of the episode. And everyone at the table was able to give... really
again,
good,
behind the scenes,
Sure.
that conversation continued after the mics turned
yeah.
Oh,
off.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
And you're going to release that to Patreon subscribers?
No, there's nothing recording. We just desperate to make sure my little mixer was not ruined from
This is
the
true.
beer.
This is true. Don't want to spoil the episode. It is
Is the mixer fine?
It's fine.
It's
Well,
fine.
I think so.
Good.
I actually don't know if I've used it since then. Maybe it's not.
Oh.
Maybe it is.
Okay.
Well, you'll find.
I have backups
if you
upon
don't know,
backups at this point.
There you go. We don't want to spoil the entire episode. It is phenomenal. I'll say watch. Don't necessarily
Watch.
listen.
I watched. It was good.
I did both. I watched it and then I listened while I was taking notes while I was working. So
Oh, okay.
you're welcome for the 2 clicks.
Every part of it is not great to watch, so put it on,
Yeah.
and then when you hear something fun happening, you can look up and see what is going on.
Like when Gnome says, "I've got beer in my butt crack," you can go, "Okay, wait, what the hell just happened here?" And you can kind of go back in the video
Right.
and find
Yeah.
out.
Look for the butt crack.
Watch my butt crack.
Yeah, the fact that you stood up after that, a little awkward. Not gonna
Had to
lie.
shake
but
off.
I shouldn't have taken my
Shake it
pants
off.
off. That was bad.
There are rules when you're out in
I know.
public.
I forgot the camera was there.
Oh my gosh. All right, my multiple choice question for season 9, episode 14 of Cincy Brewcast, Raising Boats and Tides at Sonder and Friends Oktoberfest.
All right.
How many times did they reference Sonder Stories episode 100?
Okay.
I got my clicker out for this one, actually, because, again, I listened and watched twice.
Good.
Was it A, 3 times?
Okay.
Was it B, 8 times?
Very good.
Or was it C, 12 times?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Or was it D? You know what number it has to be, right? 69 times.
Nice.
Noise.
Listen to this episode, watch this episode, do both. Be sure to do all the things and support the gnarly Gnome in everything that he's doing because it is fantastic. We still have 2 episodes to go. Weekly Pint and Brew Sky's Booze News. Marco, do you need a refill? Gnome, anyone need
No,
refill?
let's go.
Everyone good? All right, let us roll through this shit then. Weekly Pint, let's stick with all things Gnome. Last night's episode, as we're recording this, episode 187, there's a hole in my ceiling and my car won't start.
Yeah.
So you could tell this was going to be a very positive, uplifting, man, look at all this great stuff kind of episode.
I'm positive my car won't start.
I could not directly empathize with that, but we had foundation work done today. So cost-wise, I'm I am in pain with you as far as things you need to, your daily life, your house, your car, that type of stuff.
Foundation work is a little worse than having to cut a hole in my ceiling.
I will tell you, when they put the piers in and did the slight lift, the entire back of the house, like the sound that was
the
made.
sound. You can't be there
like
for that.
cracking, and I'm standing in the kitchen, which is the back wall that they were working on in the basement. I'm looking around, like waiting to see like these huge cracks appear and like everything to collapse in. I'm going, oh my God, I hope that was supposed to make that sound. And so I'm listening to the workers, in the basement, like, are they freaking?
Oh, no!
Right, exactly.
Oh, God.
Right. And I'm just like, and no, they're just kind of conversation. Yeah. So, this weekend I think I'm going to be absolutely no change in their cadence, no change. And I'm like, I'm going to assume that's what's supposed to happen.
At least, like, you've got somebody else that, like, you're leaning on. So, like, I've got this problem in my basement where I had to cut a hole in the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And so I'm cutting a hole in the ceiling to try to figure out what's going on. And my wife comes down and she's like, hey, what's going on? And I said, well, we got this problem. And she's like, well, what is it?
Toasters?
And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. That's what I'm trying to, like, I'm learning right now. Like, I have to learn this.
See what's underneath the ceiling to find
There are no experts right now to tell me what is going on. I have to figure this thing out. Yeah. There is water.
But something like that, if it's not necessarily done correctly, shouldn't cause your entire house to collapse around it.
Oh, it could. Water's nasty.
Well, no. I'm just saying cutting a hole in the ceiling. The water, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I know. I understand from that point. But did you figure out either where
No,
it's
we're still in process.
Okay. Well, hopefully
we're at the hole in the ceiling and a Tupperware container stage.
Okay.
That gathers the water as it drips.
Is there like a pipe that's directly under that?
Nope. So you're acting like my wife right now. Nope, that's easy. I could do that. Nope, that's easy.
So you cut a hole where the water's coming in, and when you look straight up, it's just the floorboards, the baseboards underneath?
It's not even that easy.
Oh.
We got vents and all kinds of things in the way. Yeah.
Well, best of luck to you.
Yeah.
I will text my continued.
We're gonna burn it down.
Is it
we're gonna burn it down and
Sounds good.
and submit it for some kind of insurance claim.
It's a solid plan.
You probably shouldn't have said that on a recorded podcast.
It's fine.
But okay.
We can edit that out. That's fine.
I could.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
The question is, am I going to?
My house didn't burn down. It's fine.
Oh my goodness.
Not yet.
There were
one
of the fun things about the weekly Pint is if you're joining live, it's typically Monday nights around 9:30 p.m. ish, depending on what's going on. The interactive chat, getting to see what everyone else is saying over the different platforms that it is being put out to. There was some great downtown Indianapolis brewery recommendation and talk that spawned out of that. That is always fun when
there's a lot of YouTube traffic this week.
There was a lot of YouTube traffic this week. I noticed that. The compiled chat that shows you who's saying what from where. Nothing better.
Sounds like Google.
It really does. There was a teaser that there is new Gnome glassware coming out.
Eventually.
That is my truth. Yeah, I mean, it's still not wrong. Eventually, there's going to be some new Gnome glassware coming out.
So much money.
I've said this multiple times. All I'm asking, please don't let it be TQs because you can't stack them.
No, they're Steins. They're beer Steins.
Ooh, excellent. So now they're not being teased anymore. Now it's just a matter of when they show up.
Just have to order them. Just have to quit spending money so that I can spend money.
We had a Beer, Booze, Bunks, Boinks, Binks, Biscuits, Boobs, and Bananas update. Mm-hmm. Very excited about that. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, be sure to do that. beerboozeandbonks.com. Or Fulling Warehouse probably has a link to it on their stuff. Or, really beerboozeandbonks.com.
That's the best.
Go there. That is your source of truth for all of that. Voting on the non-Oktoberfest Quest... not winner. One of the Oktoberfest Quest beers that didn't make it to the next round.
Yeah.
Voting will be opening up soon for the opportunity to come back into the competition.
Eliminated beers.
There was already an eliminated beer that got back.
Correct. Yeah. Highwire.
We think it's a little different this year.
So will that be coming back for round 2 or round 3?
I believe round 3.
Round 3? Okay. Maybe-ish. Okay.
I think that's when the loser, non-winner, comes back.
Okay. I mean, not super important. It's our truth. And
it's fine. We can look it up.
And you do you. All right. We will. Well, Marco's getting a beverage. We will.
He just ran away. Does he do that all the time?
All the time. You have no idea how hard it is to try and get this podcast done when he's.
I have an idea. All right. Let's see. Round 1. 1, 2, round 3, yeah. Round 3.
Fight.
Eliminated beer comes back.
Okay. All right. And that will be a poll that's posted on all the social media platforms,
Should be up
website, whatever.
This week sometime.
Okay. So keep an eye on All Things Gnome for your chance to bring back a non-winning beer to Oktoberfest Quest. And we know for certain that the finale is going to be at Mad Tree. We just don't have specific details on the date and time yet. That is
Still don't have that.
That is to come. So again, keep an eye on All Things Gnarly Gnome.
Do you want to hear who's still in the competition?
Yes, absolutely.
So this is round 2. We have, and this is not in order. It doesn't give
Is
you
this
a
a random?
picture of
Okay,
who's
okay.
competing against who. We have High Grain, Mad Tree, Rheingeist, Warped Wing, Cartridge, Fretboard, Braxton, West Side's Mertzen, Brink, Sam Adams, Sonder, Esoteric, Municipal, Street Side, Wandering Monsters, West Side Fest Beer, Northern Row Fest Beer, and Highwire.
And the only ones you can vote on are the ones that were eliminated in round 1,
Yes.
not round 2.
Yes.
All right.
And there will be a poll that'll get shared. And
Cool. Keep an eye on that. You mentioned that there are a whole bunch of fun beer events coming up. Trust us, we know.
It's a lot of them.
There are so many. We had 9 pages of events that we talked about, and that was only October and then like 5 or 6 in November. It is beyond ridiculous how many events
You
there
guys
are.
got to cut
just in
that down
October.
at some point. Got to go from like 3 months to like
But that's not even 3 months.
6 weeks.
That's 2. That's October and then like 7 in November. That's it. We're not even.
a lot.
I haven't seen an event for December yet. It is.
there's papers everywhere. Like
I know.
papers.
There's.
Once we get through October, there's
They're everywhere.
a lot fewer.
Yeah. Once spooky season is done, it definitely dies down a bit. But Marco, Gnome, do either of you have any other notes about this episode of the Weekly Pint before I give you my multiple choice question for this episode?
No,
I don't.
Let's go into it.
All right. What does Gnome no longer have or is losing? A, his eyesight. B, his can collection. C, his car.
Or D, Julia. It's me.
Marco,
Bring it
I
to the
bring the D.
What you got?
Give me your D, Marco.
Option D is it is sanity.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Ooh. This may be a trick.
It's a little painful though.
All right, let's move on to the last podcast. Well, not even podcast. The last media experience that we have to talk about tonight.
Best thumbnail they've done.
I have that as one of my notes. It was absolutely phenomenal. And what the hell are we talking about? Brewcast Booze News, the episode, the YouTube show, the YouTube episode that they released on October the 3rd of 2023. This is what success looks like. It looks like monocles and top hats.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Very first note I had, fantastic thumbnail art.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
You couldn't get any better. This episode was not necessarily hosted by Mike and Bret, but it was hosted by Eye Candy and the Troll.
That's right.
You can decide which is which.
New band.
New band, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd pay to go see them.
I would too. What kind of music do they play?
Polka.
I would not be surprised.
Okay.
It'd be kind of like, okay, all right, I'm here for it. It would not shock me in any way, shape, or form. They talked a tiny bit about the potential impending, already here, who the hell knows, government shutdown and how it may or may not impact breweries and brewers. Bret gave some, I say advice very loosely on what to do, what not to do. I know nothing about the industry as far as how that goes, so you do you, and just make sure that
Yeah.
that your lights stay on.
Basically, that's what he said. He said, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
If you're operating that day to day right now, that like you're listening to this show and you're like, oh, we should do something, you got
It's
bigger
probably too
problems.
late. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Mike's wine investment portfolio update. Is it time to sell? So basically, be sure to listen to or watch all of these episodes to get your
Wine portfolio update.
portfolio financial advice. You could also either move to Cleveland or look into GMO
That's not gonna
solutions.
Not
for
gonna
your
happen.
wine. Which one, GMO or Cleveland?
Both.
Cleveland. Cleveland for sure.
Kentucky's White Oak Resiliency Act to keep bourbon from going extinct. It's a good
Make
thing, it
bourbon
sounds
great
like.
again.
MABA?
Mabba.
No,
Mabga?
I don't know.
Mabga?
That doesn't really work, does it?
That first thing is hard.
Did I tell you that the other day? One of the regulars came in and said, "Hey, I listen to your podcast." And I said, "Really?" And he just went,
No, that's great.
Oh God, which button is that one? Once again, I don't know where the button ends and where you two begin. It's let's see.
I have thoughts in my head.
So they talked about Jim Koch's take on what success looks like for craft beer, and I think they stole that from you, Gnome. That has always been one of your big questions.
Yeah.
So Jim Koch is now taking.
You were
from
underwhelmed
you.
with that.
What's the measure of success?
Yeah.
I think that people get so hung up day to day, which is valid because people are trying to run their businesses, but they're not looking at the bigger picture. Nobody ever looks at the bigger picture of what's going on and like where all of this came from and where all of this is going and where you are in the middle of all of that. Like if you start your business in the middle of something, know where you are in that and know where you came from and where things are going and appreciate that. And
when it comes to that question, because you've spoken with him a few times, do you think Jim Koch looks at that question from that bigger picture or from the present moment?
there's a little bit of both with him. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like as long as he's been doing this, he's been both. He's been bigger picture and what's happening now.
I don't think he likes that the beer side of Boston Beer is not a majority of their portfolio right now. But I think he's smart enough to know that it was, and it might be again, and to keep to still keep flexible enough. You know, you see my hand
I see
motions.
it.
Keep flexible enough
Yes.
that you can shift back and forth and be ready to change when the market changes again, which it will.
Sure,
It's a never-ending change, which big beer can't do. Craft beer can, and
That
craft
is
beer does over and
all the
over
time.
and over again, and that's what
Fair
makes
point.
it what it is.
Fair point. The University of Kentucky has given out pamphlets to bars for how to talk to their
And their pubs.
consumers.
Yeah, the
In their-
pubs- the pubs of the University of Kentucky.
on how to do things to prevent people from doing the thing that makes the pub.
Oh, I love
A
that
pub,
though. I
yeah.
love it though.
What if
I-
they could have John
every-
Calipari record those things and then he would say them?
Every time I go to a bar, I want them to tell me, "Hello, sir. Welcome to our establishment. I see you ordered a beer. Would you like an iced tea instead?" I want them to ask that, and I'll laugh at them,
be
and that's
like-
fun. And then we all laugh, and the whole bar laughs at the person offering the iced tea
I
instead.
see you want another pint. Would you like a tall pint or a small pint?
Are you sure you want that super large beer?
What?
And we all say yes, and we
Yeah.
laugh, and we then.
Yeah.
I told that story on Truth Beer Pod one time, right? So I think it was my kid's 21st birthday. Went to the Hibachi Grill, and I ordered a beer, 12-ounce beer. It was done, and I was walking by the lady because she was just standing there staring at us like, I don't know why, but we were the only people in there, I guess. I was like, "Oh, hey,
She had
can
to
I
stare
get
at someone.
I think I was on the way to the car to
Very
get
good
something from the car. I forgot in my backpack, and I was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, can I have?"
Were you
another
wearing
beer?"
those short shorts?
Let's say creepy
Oh,
on the
it might have
butt.
been.
Because I would
Yeah.
stare.
Yeah. I didn't think about it, but
I
yeah,
like those shorts.
yeah.
They're
And
they're pretty nice shorts.
I said, "Hey, can I get another beer?" And she goes, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yes, yeah, I'm sure,
If
definitely."
I
No, hold
wasn't
on.
sure,
Yes.
I don't think I would.
Yes.
I'll take two.
Good God. Moving on to the question of the week: your current drink tipping etiquette. It sounds like they're both average tippers.
I'm torn on this because I get that tipping culture is out of control.
Agreed. Well, I feel like this was specifically if you go somewhere to order a drink.
Yeah.
A bar, a brewery, a bottle shop, that type of thing, and not the tipping culture in general?
It's both. I think it's both. It makes me like. I mean, Bret is an owner of a brewery that has bar staff.
Yep.
Is that what I'm supposed to be tipping his staff? Because I don't, and I won't. I do tip higher than 20%. Because I think
20% is like just my baseline, and then based on the service I get, it's either up or. And when I say it's
up.
under 20%,
it's always up for me.
But at least for me, you have to be doing something really, really wrong for the service I'm expecting for me
to get 20%.
Right, or to even think about less the super rare
I don't
instances of
ever
that.
tip below 20% ever. Like it just doesn't happen.
I think there have been maybe 2 or 3 times, and it was one of those.
What did they do to you?
It was trying to think. It's been a very long time.
Been a while,
but it was. I think one of them
that's
was.
If it's been a very long time,
Yeah,
that shifts things too. Because
right. No, this has been probably. God, probably over 5 years.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
one
know
of those.
that counts.
So that but I mean, it was something to where I even went. God, I really don't want to do less, but it was just such like a stark contrast to anything that's acceptable to me. That's why I was even going. And I think I still was even. I think it was still even like 15% or something. Like it wasn't, one of those. I'm going to be an asshole and just leave a penny so you know I didn't forget.
It's hard for me because like say you go out and have a bunch of drinks and it's $100 bill. You're talking about like still like. If you're talking 1% up or down, you're talking about dollars.
Right.
Like
exactly.
That's where I feel.
Like, why are we like worried about like 15 versus 20% of tips? Like it's
like
dollars.
$1 or $2. Yeah,
dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I look at it for stuff that's small in a way. So as an example, let's say my bar tab's $15. I am tipping $5.
Exactly.
I am tipping $5 no matter what. Like 20% is $3. I'm not giving you $3. I'm giving you $5.
Yeah.
And then for it's stuff that rounds up higher than that to a dollar bill perspective.
Yeah.
I'll look at it at a baseline of 20 to start and then up. However, that for me the biggest difference is when 20% means less than $5. Then I'm leaving you at least $5.
Oh yeah.
I'm not, I'm not going to leave you $3 because I can leave $5.
The only
and
time,
to me, that's almost like with people now when they go into these betting sites and everything, they talk about units, right? They talk. For me, a unit in tipping
it's $1.
Is for me if I'm tipping you anything less
it's
from
like
a 20%.
It's $5.
It's $5. I'm leaving you $5.
For the most part, the only time that I ever automatically just hit that 20% button on
the buttons
POSs
are different,
is like if I'm here and I get a couple draft beers, a couple things where they're pouring it for me, they're putting it in a glass for me, opening the can, whatever it might be, and then I also get packaged beer.
See, I agree with that as well.
I don't look at it and go, ooh, what am I going to tip just on what they poured for me?
I agree with that as well.
I hit 20% because I know that 20% counts into the package stuff I'm getting, so I know that for what the service that they provided me, they're getting more than that. Than that base level.
Well, typically, if you're at a liquor store and you're leaving with a 6-pack of beer, you're paying the price for the 6-pack of beer plus the tax, and then you're out of there. Mm-hmm. If you're at a place like Higher Gravity, you're getting a 6-pack of beer plus you ordered 2 pints, and you tip 20% on the whole bill. Well, to me, that's fine because I would have never tipped on just a 6-pack of to-go beer.
Correct.
Never. Right. I wouldn't do that.
Well, and I mean, the times
that's a bigger question that I think we should be talking about is that, like, when you go to those places that you walk in, you get a 6-pack of beer to go, and then it asks you to tip. Like, how do you handle that?
Right.
Which they've touched on, I think, in previous episodes. But
yeah, they absolutely have. But they cover this very quickly. But as we just proved, it is a much bigger discussion than ever. Yeah.
So I think we're getting ready to wrap up. Before that,
I had one note and multiple choice. So
before that, one more thing on tipping.
Yes.
You're going to grab to-go food. Let's say you go. There's Buffalo Wild Wings across the street.
Yes.
Do you go to the counter, order your to-go food, pay out, then go to the bar and order your drink so that you're not tipping on the food purchase?
No, I just leave it all in the same thing, and I just tip
So
on the bill as a whole, because
So-
the cook still had to do a job. That someone still had to bag up
Nobody
that food
gives the
and bring
cook
it
a tip,
over
though.
to. Well, but
Some places- some places do.
Some places do. But I mean, if I'm sitting at the bar while I'm waiting for my to-go food and I order a beer, well, that hostess, waitress, server, bartender, whoever's there, they're still carrying that
I've always
bag of
I've
food
always
over.
done
So I
that. I've
just
always
leave
lumped it together when I go sit at the bar. I've never went to the to go stand or the counter or whatever and say, "Here's my order. I'll cash out and then go to the bar." So I'm only tipping on beer.
Now, if I order
I've never
something
done that.
and all I do is literally walk in, hi, I have a pickup order for Julia, I get my food, and then I walk out, I typically don't tip on that. But
That's
yeah,
fine.
if I'm doing something additional,
I don't think I've ever done that.
He saw the time. He saw the time, and he's just like, I'm out. Vincent
he's
is.
headed back
on his-
over.
Oh, is he over there? Cool. All right. Last one note that I had, unless you guys had anything else, and then multiple choice question. Coming next week, they investigate all of the trends, specifically who is ordering tiki drinks.
Me.
You?
I
Oh.
love tiki drinks.
Okay. I haven't had enough to have any strong feelings one way or another about them. The ones that I've had are good, but I typically don't go to places that have them.
Yeah, I don't
So
do a lot of tiki drink.
I need to-
Evidently,
I need
you
to
can get
get-
a rum runner at Highwire.
I've heard that.
big ass umbrella.
I don't know that that's
Big
a tiki drink,
umbrella.
but it's close.
Sounds like a tiki drink.
I need to go back to the fermentorium and get some of their tiki drinks in the amazing
Tiki glasses.
drink
Great tiki
vessels.
glasses,
Yes. Before the multiple choice question, did either of you have anything else on this episode of the Brewcast Booze News YouTube episode from October 2nd, 2023?
Love the show. I'm curious how many times next episode Mike can squeeze in. Oh, we interviewed so and so on.
Ooh, that would have been that would have been something great.
Gotta get that counter out for that one.
I did
On our
a
podcast.
different counter, and this is one that I've done before, but it actually happened this time. How many times did
I know
Mike
where you're going.
brings the D Morgan top off
his beer.
schooner? Yes.
The old
and
schooner.
I'm like, you know what? I did this before, but he didn't. So it was kind of a trick question. This time, he actually
We all
did.
recognize
So-
that beer.
At one point, he got pleasure out of it
Oh
too.
my
Like they
God,
were
yeah.
talking about like
He's
big
just like
glasses or
grinning,
something.
and he
You
was
saw him
like,
just.
like that smile, like, hell yeah. Was it A, 4 times? Was it B, 6 times? Or was it C, 9 times?
Was it D 12 times, Julia?
Marco
That's a
bringing
big
the D.
glass. Marco brings the
Bring
D.
the
Ooh.
D.
That was the D hitting the
Yeah.
table.
So who really brings the D? Is it you or is it Mike?
Marco brings
Marco?
the D. Yeah, Marco always brings the D.
That was Saison DuPont, wasn't it, in the can?
It was.
I
yeah.
believe so.
Absolutely.
Yes. I know. I was looking at the can like, oh, what is that? Oh, I think I know what that is. Absolutely fantastic. If you have not watched any of the Brewcast Booze News, weekly news recaps, do it. If you have not listened to the Brewcast podcast, what the hell's wrong with you? Do it. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. Support them on Patreon. You don't get shit from it. Except
Yeah, I
for
don't know why we support, but we do.
well, actually, they did kind of answer that this episode. They said if we give them
It's not
$5
true. It's
for
not
shitty
true.
beers, if they see us, they'll
It's
buy
not true.
us a shitty beer.
It's not true. I've seen them. They don't buy you a beer. Not true.
So it's
Bruce,
working.
Bruce guys exposed.
Actually,
for
I don't think I've
the
seen them
liars that
since. So it's a joke, guys. It's fine.
If there's nothing else,
I got nothing.
All right, we will wrap up. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Truth, Beer, and Consequences. If you like what we did, let everybody in the world know. Talk to the trees. Let the trees know. I'm looking at a
that's weird.
sunset. I don't know.
You're looking at the sunset?
I'm looking out the window, so I'm like, there are trees. There's a sunset. Just shout it out into the ether to listen to Truth, Beer, and Consequences. If you want to follow us, talk to us in any way, shape, or form, we are at Truth Beer Pod on all the social media platforms. You can send us an email, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. You can go to our website, which is, believe it or not, truthbeerpod.com. And there are links to things like our Patreon account and all that good stuff. You can hear unedited episodes of what we put out to the public and see what kind of chaos actually does reign supreme.
Way better.
There's like almost 45 minutes of extra content almost every single time.
Sometimes we talk about things.
Oh, lots of things. Lots and lots of things. Well, with that being said, Marco, Gnome, and I don't know where Vincent went off to. What are you guys going to be doing next Tuesday?
I'm going to be here doing this, hopefully with all of you.
I have no idea. I hope I have
Cheers.
a car. Cheers, guys.